Hi, everybody. I'm so excited for this Goddess Live with Nancy Haboush. I came on early. I couldn't help it. But before I call her in, actually, I'm going to start calling her in. Let's see. I just wanted you guys to know that she means so much to me, so much to everyone. Let's see if we can get her in here. Send request. Okay, we're trying to call her in. Okay, I don't know if that worked. Nancy. Oh, you're here. I'm so
Hi,
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I couldn't wait. I had to start early.
Oh, I'm so glad because I was very worried about testing it and like screwing something up. I'm like, shoot, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, yay. I was actually just reading all of your goddess post and trying to re-embody your
Oof,
messages. And I was like,
good.
how
I can't wait to have you tell me what my messages were because I don't even know where to find that. I hope I'm still consistent.
Oh, yes, you are. But it was funny because I was like, okay, I just want to pick a few, and I'm like, but I have to have that one and that one and that one and that
Oh, you're awesome.
one. So I came on earlier this week. Like I'm already starting to cry. Here we go. I came on earlier this
Oh,
and talked about how what a great mentor you are to a lot of people, and how you were to me as well, and how you really are a very special goddess and a sage and an elder, and how you've really touched so many people's lives, and how I couldn't wait to talk to you. So
aw.
yay.
I saw one of those. It was very sweet. Thank you.
How was the zoo?
It was insane, awesome. She did so good. I really could make an entire album out of the pictures I took in 3 hours. Yeah, it was so great.
Can't wait to see
I
pictures.
know. I love the zoo, and she was completely fascinated, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
Yay.
One of
Oh,
my favorite places with the kids. So it's pretty cool to get to share her first experiences in my grandchild. So,
yay. Oh,
yeah.
cool. Well, what we're doing on these Goddess Lives is basically, like I said, I'm just going to share some of the messages and inspiration and the power that you bring to us, and kind of celebrate you for that, and then go a little bit deeper and ask some questions. And if some people come on and they want to ask questions too. And
Cool.
beyond that, I have questions about this.
Oh, fabulous. Awesome. I love it.
If you're prepared to answer.
Wow, we'll see what happens. I'm still learning. I'm still a student of that book, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't read it. I started to read it, and then I was like, whoa, I need to be in
Uh,
mind space to actually dive deep into this,
you
really
really do.
know more about the role of the sage with the saboteurs, right?
Hmm.
I want to know more about that. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's dive into you. So you're a coach. How do you describe what you do? I mean, I know you're a coach, but it's like so much more, like a mentor, a coach. What's your how do you describe it?
I think my role now, I think it's always interesting because it really depends how people find me. And most of the time, it's either someone who I used to work with, or I've known their family, and now dads and moms are asking me to coach their kids, which when you say age and elder, I'm feeling a little old about that. But honestly, it's actually pretty cool because it's like there's this full circle happening. And most of them are ages of my children. So, you know how you can teach other people's kids, but you can't always teach your own kids? It's kind of like that. But I would say people are either coming because they've heard that I've made a difference for somebody else who got. I think I'm becoming an expert in people who get stuck,
Mm,
and it can be stuck from one career to the next. It can be stuck from even just transitioning from major life choices. So a divorce or a marriage or something that's happening with kids that just feels like a transition that I'm having a hard time making the leap or the jump to. So I don't know that I could say, I think that's the hardest thing about coaching. And that's why I think we all have a hard time labeling it. Like, are you a life coach? Are you a business coach? Are you a career coach? Are you Yes.
yeah.
But what I normally do, I spend 30 minutes with somebody and I can tell you whether I'm the right coach. And I think it's more about kind of the space you're coming from. Is life happening to you, or do you take the role of an active participant that I get to decide what my destiny is versus, oh no, it's predestined and I'm just having a hard time moving along with what the world is asking of me. Neither are right or wrong. They're just different philosophies, right? So I think sometimes it's just a matter of if we vibe, then it's usually a good beginning, and that just depends what path people are walking on. And I always feel like if I have experience in there, it's either because I've managed or led someone with that experience, or I've gone through it myself. Then I feel like I have more to offer in terms of being curious about. Just because my journey looked like this doesn't mean that will be that way for everybody. So I think more often I'm probably a change coach. Like
Mhm.
when people are going through change, I feel like that's a sweet spot for me where I can help people make that leap, because it's usually just I don't know if you ever watched the movie We Bought a Zoo, but he talks about you just need 7 seconds of courage,
Oh,
because once you make the decision, the rest is easy. It's just making the decision and taking that first leap that's the hard part. So yeah, that was a long-winded answer.
no, but I love that. That's actually where I'm feeling kind of currently with my practice too, because I feel like I have so much other experience, thanks to you, to offer my nutrition clients, because
Yeah,
I've kind of been attracting this younger demographic of young, strong women, young, independent women just coming into their own in their early 20s and 30s. And they're like really career minded and focused. And they're also having these gut problems. And I'm like, that was
weird.
me. And I wish I would have had, like I had you to help guide me with the business side,
Mm,
but I wish I also would have had somebody to be like, yo, girl, like you don't have to live this way with your stomach and your brain, and you're trying to be career minded and focused, and you're living in the bathroom at the same time. And so I feel like those clients that's really cool that I'm attracting, and I'm like, how can I
yeah.
help support them in a broader sense of being more like a health mentor,
Mm,
and not really a coach, but like a mentor of like, you're just coming into your own and getting into your career, and and how can I help you in your health space, your mind space, and just kind of, it's just evolving. Does that?
I think what you're describing is how you find everything's connected to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't change one of those things without changing all of the things. Like it's just this how we look at our health and how we look at how our brains work. And what I think it's an energy thing. It's like, how do you even have the energy to do all these things when you're not feeling good? Like it's remarkable the things you accomplished not feeling good, Jamie. Like it's remarkable. And
Yeah.
that's the part that like I love it that you're doing this work, because we take our health for granted when things are wrong, like in your space, like with the gut, like we don't even realize how much it's holding us back. So, or your sleep, or I just went through menopause a couple of years ago. That's a whole other animal. I can't wait till you get there and you can start coaching on that.
Okay, well, I'm not ready to talk about that.
It's good. It's a mess.
I mean, I think I'm preparing myself. I'm trying to. That's also what I want to help people, like prepare every decade for the
Yeah,
future decades. So I'm preparing, but
that's good.
I'll probably be like, okay, it's time for change, Nancy. Where are you at?
Love it.
Mental change. Yeah.
I'll be
Cool.
right
Okay.
here.
Well, let's see. So I'm going to read some of the things that you said. I'm going to start with some of your words of wisdom. And
Ooh.
I actually coined you the goddess of authenticity and empowerment. So
Hmm.
yes, that's what I believe you are, and that's how you help all of us. But some of your words of wisdoms that really sat with me were: to belong to others means you have to abandon yourself. Don't abandon your own truth and pretend to be something you're not. Um, and one of your superpowers was belonging to yourself. You want to help and guide others to embrace this as their superpower too. And that through creating space for others to find, like you like to create space for others so that they can find theirs. That's kind of that superpower, right?
Hmm.
So you listen to people in a way that inspires them to find answers that's been inside them all along. True. Um, and through your own journey, you've learned to help others realize that struggling to belong is really about belonging to yourself by living a true and authentic life and intention.
Hmm.
Do these still ring true?
Yeah, man, you pull some cool stuff out of conversations. That's awesome. I
So,
think, thank God for all of the incredible, like I'm going to refer to more women because those are more the authors that are in this belonging space. And for whatever reason, I do think females struggle with this more than men, although I know some men who do. But this idea of fitting in all the time, like from the time we're very young to, I mean, we're still doing it all the time, and how much we have to change the core of who we are to fit into other people's circles, whether it's friends or family. And I think the day you wake up and it is so much work to fit that you actually choose to not fit and you're okay. Like there's one thing to say, I don't want to go to that event or I don't want to go to that party because it's just not who I am. And I have to pretend while I'm there and that just doesn't feel good anymore. To let go of the missing out and the whole not being part of something to find something else that makes more sense. I mean, those are the hardest decisions I've ever made because some of it is family. And so I think the grace and the beauty of kind of getting to there, of knowing that being true to yourself is the most important thing and loving yourself. I mean, I'm almost 56. I'll be 56 this summer. That's very scary to say. And I just hope I can help other people not take that long to have it be okay to put yourself as a priority because you're a better version. And even then I can show up wholly to events that I need to go to because it's the right thing to do and not feel like I have to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also to feel like I don't have to change other people either. That's the shift. Because we show up, oh my God, that's the hardest part. It's like, no, but don't you see, like I've had this enlightenment and now there's all these things and I can see things different. And, you know, sometimes my need to mentor and teach gets in the way of my need to just be present and love people and accept people for where they're at.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that it's in the health space too, where it's like people are like, oh, you're a nutritionist, and then they like are like blah, like all the things, and I have to just
Don't make
like,
me eat broccoli.
oh my God, I love broccoli. No.
I was just kidding. I like broccoli.
But I have to like just hold my tongue, or if I see something, you know, I just have to like hold my tongue and hold space for them and not say anything because really, unless you've been given permission, nobody wants to be told what to do or how to eat. It's, you know, like nobody wants that, and it's really difficult, and especially the change piece because it's kind of like everybody does things for a specific reason, and you unless you're given permission to analyze that reason, you kind of need to back off, right?
Yeah, but it's hard because it's like inside you're trying to be helpful, but
Mm-hmm.
your reasoning of without permission, then it's a violation, right? And so I think that's been a huge learning curve with helpers. Like I'm naturally a helper and I always think I'm doing things for the right reasons. And I think my intent is good and it can still be really not very not received in the most pleasant of ways if I don't have permission. So yeah, allowing people to come to it on their own and when they're ready and yeah. And know that they might not ever because it's just my view. It's not their view. And that doesn't make mine right and theirs wrong. And I think that's the whole thing, right? All of us have this idea of my truth is so different than anyone else's truth because we have all of our experience and our perspective and our belief systems all tied up into that. And there's no right or wrong way. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Crazy.
that's why we probably went into careers where we get paid after we've been given permission.
Right. Or it's a condition of the job. You have to listen to me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, and I actually don't remember what it was, but it was something I was reading about that like talks about like, or no, I'm sorry. It's your human, you know, the human design. Like, I think that was my human design is that I get really, like frustrated if I don't get that permission because I want to give, and if I don't get that, then I feel like held back in like my power to deliver, you know. So
yeah.
yeah.
And then it's almost like, oh my gosh, am I not serving? Am I you know, is this my responsibility? And yeah, there's always that fight, I think. And so one of the things that I think has come with age is being a little more relaxed about that and being more present to pick up the nonverbals to know when is it appropriate and when is it not. And I think I mean, it's 6 years already that I've had my own business. And I just think every year I get more intuitive and more relaxed about not feeling this pressure of, oh my gosh, everyone needs help. And so it's my job. It's like, no, it's not. That's not my job. The ones that are supposed to come to me will come to me. And there's a lot of peace in that of just knowing the right fit. Like people are just drawn to the right coach. I think that's really true.
Yeah. And there's so many out there. And it's kind of what I love about, I feel like the end of 2020 and beginning of 2021, I feel like I'm just seeing this huge community of everyone's supporting each other, and
Yeah.
it's not about competition, it's about connection, you
Hmm.
know? And that's really, really making me feel so good inside. And I have a community of other coaches that do exactly what I do, and we're working together. Like we're going to go on Clubhouse and do things, and it's
Nice.
again, it's not like we're not in competition. It's like you're going to resonate with me, or you're going to resonate with her or him, and that's fine. Like we're all here to like lift each other up. And I think that
Yeah.
this is the first time that I think since COVID really happened, I feel like this community, is awakening to help each other, and not like be against each other. It's so great.
Awesome. Yeah,
But
it's awesome.
yeah, so
The whole abundance mindset versus scarcity. There's plenty of business and plenty of people, and the right match is out there.
yes, yes. Well, so tell me more about this book. Tell me all
Okay,
about it.
so I got into the book because the Vistage chairs, by and large, were invited to help become coaches of the message, right? So Shirzad, I would totally screw up his last name, but you have it in front of you. But this positive intelligence, the cool thing is there's an app that goes with it. I don't even know what the next phase is because that's how I'm on week 5 of a 7-week training. And so it's all about recognizing that we all have these saboteurs that are the little voices in our head that do um, derail us from um, our highest, truest self because they're trying to protect us. So it's like the shadows versus the sun, and the sages are different ways of looking at things and approaching things. And so he uses all of these very physical. I don't know if you've known anybody with really massive anxiety, but if you have a lot of anxiety, you usually use your 5 senses to help connect yourself back to kind of just what's the here and now and stay present in the moment. So, you touch your fingers, you study something with very strong intention. So you use your sight and your hearing and all that. And you do these little exercises all day long to help kind of refocus to stay in the here and now. And then that's what helps you to kind of draw into your sage. So when I get triggered or react to something negative, my number one saboteur is hypervigilance. So I'm always thinking of what's going to go wrong. And I'm scared of the most bizarre things. Like I won't get on the back of Chuck's motorcycle because I'm like, we can't both die. We still have a 16-year-old at home. Like, and so my tolerance for risk is very low. So because of this hypervigilant, I start going down this rabbit hole with all these crazy fears. And the sage would have me look at where's your power in that? Like what's reasonable about that, and would ask the questions to help me kind of get back to what's actually true versus reacting to a saboteur that's just trying to keep me from enjoying life or looking at things with a broader perspective. That's just one silly example of, I mean, all the saboteurs are crazy. They all do different things inside us, but all of us have this judge. That's one that's universal. We judge ourselves, we judge other people, and we judge circumstances. And I'm the queen of judging circumstances. Like something happens and I know what it means 12 steps down the road, and I awfulize it and I go all the way to the end. And so I don't make the choice because I can see what could possibly go wrong. And that will keep me stuck from making the decision in the first place. So it's interesting how putting this sage wisdom and not getting sucked into the crazy things we tell ourselves is making a difference. So I'm excited to coach it and to help other people discover what to do with these saboteurs. But like I said, I'm still in the middle of the training, so it's super fun
Well, it
and
sounds like
challenging.
you know what you're talking about, of course.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you just said about like I said, the way that they're reframing the sages and how that you can pull that in. I mean, that's kind of like everything I'm trying to empower with doing these goddess lives too. Is just what
Yeah.
can we learn from each other and go deeper and open ourselves up. And I do that too. I recognize I did it last night. Like something hit me as a trigger, and I just like immediately went like blew up, and then I immediately like went down and was like, I am so sorry, like I like like
Mm,
I recognized, but I couldn't help myself. And so I think
yeah.
that would be really helpful to find a way that when you're triggered, how to stay calm in the moment, even though it's one of those, like a switch. Like how do you keep your switch stable? you know
So the cool thing is it's not about calm or heightened. It's about asking a question in the midst of it that helps you process it and understand, oh, I'm getting triggered. Why am I getting triggered? And the minute I can recognize it, I'm automatically diffusing it because I'm calling it and I can see it, right? I think when you talk about in the work you're doing with the goddess I'm going to call it a journey because it feels like a journey, this thing you're doing. And I love all of your pictures from your photo shoot of your goddess because you look like a goddess in all of them.
Oh,
And I think the cool thing about it is one of the exercises we're doing in this book is you had to get a picture of you when you were under 5 years old. So I had this picture of me from when I was 2 sitting on a table looking at my birthday cake. And my face is like I am, my eyes are huge and I'm like, I'm in wonder. And trust me, I am not thinking of anything except how cool the lights on that cake look. Because I don't know what cake tastes like. I'm pretty sure I didn't at that point. But the lights on the candle were amazing. And I'm like totally looking at that with the wonder of only a 2-year-old. And so he like takes us back to when did we lose our wonder and our joy and our automatic feeling that life is wonderful and worth reveling in. And so when you talk about your goddess work, that's what I think of. It's like it's not so much a discovery that you're a goddess, it's a returning to who you always were
mm,
before we had to put all these masks on and pretend to be something else or to protect ourselves. So we've got these layers that we have to just let go of so our goddess can come back out because we've hidden her or stuffed her in a closet because the last time she came out, somebody decided she wasn't the right thing for them and we put her away.
so good. That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think about, I think about all the times where, we or I should say I came out thinking I was going to be something and then got judged. And then
Yeah.
like how often, like as a kid, as a child, like
Yeah.
judged and then just shrink down and, probably clothed her, my Barbie goddess, in
Mm-hmm.
something else, and how that really shapes us. And then on the opposite side, how it makes, like, I feel like that's probably why, like, when I got triggered, it was because I felt like I wasn't able to speak my truth in the moment, and
Yeah.
that triggered me. And how I think, like, that's part of this too. It's like, how can you become who you were always destined or meant to be? And how many things, like I did some work with like some kind of where you go back into your childhood memories,
Sounds like MDR.
yeah, it was I basically like got hypnotized. And
Nice.
they like take you back, but they have you look at your, like, you find yourself as a child, and then what would you say to her, what's holding her back, um
Oh,
and then, like, then you move up to the next stage, so you like hold her hand and you discover all these things, and then you find your, like, heart, and you find your brain, so you're finding all these different pieces of yourself, and then you have
love
to
it.
communicate all of them and try to connect them back to your child. And through doing that, I kind of really, it's a lot of forgiveness to yourself, things that you've maybe held on to, that weren't yours to hold on to. Like, and that's kind of what I discovered, and that's what you remind me of, is like the things that, like, I think when you're little, like you said, that wonder, but I think like you intuitively know, like, these are the things that I'm going to shine with, right? And so how do you just kind of break that shine back out?
Mhm. 7 seconds of courage.
Yeah.
I love the way you describe that. I think it's really, really, really true. And I think it happens to all of us. When you talk about going back on that journey and recognizing the first time that you went, ooh, I'm not gonna do that again. I didn't get love when I did that. In fact, I got the opposite. So I gotta, turn a little bit to the right, or I gotta quiet down, or I have to quit being so much or so loud or so something in order to not lose love. And at some point, you kind of go, if I don't love myself, what difference does it make? Yeah, but
Yeah.
not an easy journey, that's for dang sure.
So how can you give us any tips on how to recognize and help ourselves when we're noticing this happening, or to notice it at all?
So you and I are both huge fans of journaling, and I think we're also both big fans of uh, doing the work in therapy. Because if it's deep seated and it's from trauma or anything that's a big deal, I don't think you can do it on your own. Like I do think you need somebody helping you, guide you to get past that. And then I think I will tell you this is my answer for everything. You find it in tribe. Like you find it with your girlfriends, you find it in a group of people who will challenge and push and pull and help you, or that actually validate you when you're being most yourself. like, I don't know, I know this is true for you because we have some friends in common, that when I hang out with other women that fully embrace their unique gifts and their strengths, and they're not afraid to say, oh my God, I'm doing this and I'm nailing it and I'm so excited, it inspires me to step up and do the next thing. Because I can look at somebody I really care about and know that that wasn't easy, that they were scared, that they went out on their own, that they tried something new. I mean, it was our friend Sally who told me to get out of the business of making money for everybody else and to go on my own. And she saw that in me when I didn't see it in me. So I would say, look who you're hanging out with. And if you're not hanging out with people who are pushing you and encouraging you, then you might have the wrong crowd. That's what works for me. Other people had to see it because I've always been a validate by what other people say. And so shockingly, it would take me to find my wings by someone else seeing that I'm trapped in a cocoon that helped me get out. But I'm not sure I would have done it without the encouragement of other people.
Mhm.
So pay attention that you've got yourself surrounded by good people, because I think without it, it's hard. Like, we're fighting a pretty negative, critical society that isn't actually that thrilled when people go do cool things. Um, I think, women in general, I was talking about this with somebody else, that like we eat our own and you got to have the right influential people, because a lot can say the right things and at the end of the day kind of pull you back down into the crab bucket because they don't want you getting out if they have to stay stuck, right? That's
Mhm.
the hard part.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's something the last couple of years since I moved back to Colorado. Because in California, I had, well, before I moved to California, I had obviously an amazing group of women and friends. And it was all about lifting you up and making you better and pushing you. Like, that's one of the things that I cherish about you so much, is that I feel like you always helped hold me accountable
Mm,
to what my strengths were that I could see or couldn't see, or even beyond, and then when I moved to California, I had this, and one of them was on here, but this great group of women. It was the same thing. Like, it was just like everybody wanted the best for each other. And then I moved back to Colorado, and there was a couple people in my life that were not like that, and I didn't understand, and it wasn't,
yeah.
I couldn't accept it because I had never really felt that before, because I had always felt like I was in a like growing friendship, growth mindset for all of us, and support system. And so I think that's interesting for people to know too, like, just because if other people see it and you don't see it, really open up and accept that, because that took me a while to do that. And then once I did, now I'm kind of feel like I'm surrounding myself in the same space of just all of this, like I said, community encouragement. And like, that's
Yeah.
kind of when somebody says to me that, they're not entrenched in that. And it's so hard for me to like get out of my positive mindset and be real and be supportive, because I'm like, well, just like, you gotta let go. And I know that that's hard because it took me forever to do, but um, I it's hard because I think we do get stuck in our little, like, whether it's positive or negative kind of feedback loops. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting because somebody said something really negative to me, and I was like, well, that's not, and like, don't you feel the same way? And I was like, no, because that's just not the life I'm living right now. Like, the people that I'm surrounding myself are all encouraging, you
And
know?
it's not encouraging like Pollyanna, like, oh, Jamie, you can do anything. It's that when you have enough trust and admiration of people that really care about you and care about your development, and you ask for feedback, you'll get real feedback. But you can have real feedback without it being harsh. And I think as we get older, like, your intuition is up when someone who does not have your best interest in heart is talking to you. Like, you just know. And I mean, my radar is like, yeah, I don't want to be near this person. Like, they're either going to be an energy vampire, or they're not coming from a place of love and abundance, and they are just either trying to get information or they're trying to knock you down a peg because that'll make them feel better about themselves. Like, I make it sound like there's a lot of bad people out there, and there aren't. And there also is, it's just a different level of intentionality, I think. And you just have to be careful how much time you spend with people that aren't interested in growth and development,
Mm-hmm.
because before long, you won't be interested in growth and development either. And you can hang out and not be in that space for too long if you're not careful. So I think I remember really early on in our first days of meeting each other, I remember us talking about the people you hung out with and who you wanted to be and what you wanted to choose for your life. And it's almost like you made this conscious choice, like I can take this path and I can take this path. And you could look down that road and see what life would look like. And I just remember being so incredibly proud of you, but you chose. I mean, that wasn't, nobody forced you to do that.
Mhm. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're extraordinary.
Oh, so are you. This is supposed to be about celebrating you.
Thanks. Well, you can't celebrate me without celebrating you. That's just the way it works.
So tell everybody about your vision, Dreamcatcher Vision Journal workshops.
Yeah. So probably 5 years ago, I was getting frustrated with, I had a vision board, typical one that most people do with lots of cool things on it, the home I wanted, the car I wanted to drive, pictures that would inspire me with how I wanted to feel, like love and family and acceptance and all that kind of stuff. And I just found it to be getting a little bit dull and static. And so I had this idea to create an active journal where every year you would do the same thing, but you would kind of target it toward categories of your life that you really want to work on. So I did it by roles. So like my role as a mom or my role as a grandmother or as a wife, as a business coach, as an author, and then I have goals and intentions and pictures inside my book for each one of those roles that mattered to me that year. And then every month I set goals and intentions around what I want to accomplish in which role, and then check in at the end of the month on how well I'm doing. And then I continue to create new pages. But most, like everything else, I'm like doing it on my own, but I really like doing it in community. So I started doing workshops up in Estes Park, or we've been in Vail once before. So like once a year, I just invite all of my favorite women and say, do you want to come play and let's go do this together so that we can share and talk about things and dream a little bit together. And again, just it's more inspiring if you're doing it with somebody else, and it'll make me think about things I might not think about if I'm on my own, especially like when we share bucket list ideas or big picture adventures, because I'm not a super adventurous person. So I need to be around other people that talk about things that they would call an adventure that is safe enough for me to do. So it's been fun. And now with COVID, we've been doing a lot of it virtually, and we're just getting back to doing some smaller gatherings. And so the information is on my website on 212degreecoaching.com. You can see the stuff about the vision journal, but I provide all the supplies. You don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to do anything. Like, there's just a workbook that we do to kind of prep it and tee it up. And then we just create cool dreams together and figure out a path between where I am today and where I want to go and how am I going to do it and what can happen this year. So it's more short term on trying to make it a reality.
Mm-hmm. But it's so much more than that.
I know, it's so hard to describe because, I try to do an exercise every time we do it that's uplifting and inspiring, that kind of helps us, move from fear into abundance, because I think that's usually what keeps us from dreaming big enough. I know it's what keeps me from dreaming big enough. So I try to find cool articles to share that mean something to me and help move me to help move the group. So, yeah. So we probably have 40 women that have gone through it. And then I would say there's probably 12 that are pretty religious about staying up on it every single month. So it's pretty fun.
Well, I'm excited for this one.
Thanks.
I know. I think I loved the whole, when we incorporated the tarot and the cards and the oracle deck, and really, I felt like that really kind of opened us up and brought us into that space, that safe space of sharing. And like when you do that, I think it allows us to just dream, like you said, dream bigger and see the other people. Like that helped me, like to see them read their cards and what meant for them. It helped me to kind of just go bigger, go deeper, go wider.
Yeah.
So
well, and then it finds this amazing common connection between women that don't really know each other that well, because there's always someone who doesn't know everybody. And I think that's what allows the connection. And when we're connected, cool things happen.
Yeah. So anything else coming up for you that's new and exciting? I know you're doing is it going to be called like a positive IQ coach, or what's it?
I don't even know yet. Like, this is phase 1 is we're getting the training, and I don't even know what phase 2 looks like. So I think I'll be adding it to my coaching business, but I don't really know what happens after this. I'd say, the interesting thing about like going from 19 to 20, in 2019, Chuck and I were separated. So it was a year of great loss for me and lots of transition and change and pain. And that was a really hard year. And then in 2020, unexpectedly, we reconciled. No one was more surprised than the two of us. And so 2020 became a year with, shockingly, with how COVID happened, of really turning inward and spending a lot more time being and not as much time doing. I probably have spent more time just being present. Now, it's no coincidence that I have a grandbaby this year. And if anything can make you slow down and just be in the moment, it would be a new baby. And out of all the crazy stories people have told me about how cool it is to be a grandparent, I always went, oh my gosh, stop already. But it's all true.
Yeah.
It's really true. And so I really committed. Like I still have a 16-year-old at home. So my last kid is going to be going into her senior year this year. And it's the first time in my life that I have been the primary parent at home. And I have a 31-year-old and a 28-year-old, but their dads were always the primary parent. And this is the first time in my life that I've been the primary parent. So Chuck's driving a semi and he's gone a lot. And it's a huge change. And all I can think about is I just want to enjoy all of the things that are going to happen her senior year. Like senior year is just the coolest year and it's the last year. So it's a big deal. And I remember with both of my other kids, senior year being really hard on me. It's like the last everything, right? And so now it's the last everything with the last kid. And
Mm.
so I don't want to miss anything. And so for probably the first time in my life, I would say that I'm really focused on my role as a mom and my role as a grandmother. Like I come to Omaha to see my grandbaby. That's where I am today. I'm in my grandbaby's house. And I have seen her every 6 weeks. That's been my goal, is not to go. This was a little longer because I had a little COVID scare. And so every 6 weeks, so that she knows who I am. And I have a relationship with her from the beginning. And it paid off because like I haven't seen her for a little while and she's reaching for me when her mom is holding her, which is a big deal, and doesn't strange at all and lets me rock her to sleep. And it's been amazing. That like being totally present, that's probably been my biggest challenge my whole life, is I'm always thinking about what's next, what's next. I'm also a hyperachiever. That's another one of the saboteurs. And when you're a hyperachiever, like you can't sit still, like you're always thinking about what's the next thing. And this has been a very strong learning curve for me this year, to relax and enjoy being in the moment. And I'm more focused on connections and relationships than I ever have been. And I wouldn't trade it. It won't be this way forever because I'll go back to, I love my career. I love what I do, but this is the year that my family is where my priority is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that too, and how you were saying, the hyperachiever. I really resonate with that, and I love that. Like I'm trying to slow down too, and I think that it's it also puts you, especially when you're focused on your family, but it's like it puts you in, like I'm trying to get put in that the thrive versus survive mode. I think I
Mm,
always bounce back into survive mode. And so
yeah.
that's a lesson to learn from you, is like right now that I'm taking in the moment is, and somebody special in my life always does this to me too. It's like, I'm definitely a live to work, not a work to live, person, and trying to like really just slow down and enjoy the present and enjoy the people and the family in my life, and like celebrate the wins and the successes instead of just moving to the next thing.
Mm.
So you're helping me
And
to
to do
right.
that level of focus required to do that, when you're a high achiever and your to-do list is running in your head, you cannot do both of those things at the same time. So the amount of energy it takes to truly focus, like it's easy with the baby because I swear I can just stare at this baby. She's the most beautiful
She's
baby
so cute.
ever. I can just look at her. Like I was holding her and putting her to sleep yesterday, and I had her for like 45 minutes. And my daughter-in-law usually will realize like, oh my gosh, you don't have your phone or a TV or anything. Do you want something to do while you're holding her? And I'm like, no, like I'm just going to stare at her for 45 minutes knowing this could be the last time that she'll let me hold her, because you just never know. And they grow up so fast. She's not going to lay in my lap forever. And so I just look at her eyelashes and her cute little nose. And it's like, I literally am, like 45 minutes goes by and I've done nothing but hold her. So like whatever your thing is, like whatever that person is, like when you think about how intently you can listen to another person tell a story and be completely present, which means there's no phone in sight, there's not something else happening in the background. It takes massive intention. Like I'm really working hard on it because it does not come easy. But when I can, I mean, the payoff, the things you notice that you would never catch, the little things, the things that are said, or the look on someone's face that you will miss if you're trying to multitask a relationship, it's it's pretty good stuff. So
Mm.
that's where I'm at.
If everything could be as cute as your granddaughter that we're trying to be intended to.
Oh my gosh, she's the greatest. She's just the greatest. She was all in camo and had her little pink Vans on and a pink stocking hat on today at the zoo. Wait till you see. Yeah, she was
Oh,
something.
that that actually leads me into the last thing. Well, not the last thing, but one of the last things I want to talk about is what I kind of said. I think it was some one of my posts, but I was saying, okay, for 2020, like what's out, and for 2021, what's in. And I was like, 2020,
Mm.
multitasking is out. For 2021, like something we learned in 2020 for me was multitasking is out,
Mm.
and being present is in, and like community is in, and what's out is like I'm saying, like that competition and everybody out for themselves,
Mm.
like that's out, multitasking's out, but what's in is being present and the community piece. Like that's what I learned through COVID, because I feel like we all just had to come together, and you had to be aware, I feel like it just kind of opened up the awareness of whatever it is that you do, like your job, the people around you. Like for some people that were stuck at home, like with other people, like I have friends that have roommates or partners, that they became aware, like
Mm.
this is not it. Or they
Yes.
became aware, I need to go all in, right? Like this is
Yeah.
it, and I need to pay more attention, and I need to go all in. And so I just think that which way you're going, that's kind of what I learned. And I was wanting to know what you learned. Like what was the biggest thing? You kind of touched on this, but like summarizing 2020 into 2021, like you said, you're going to slow down, but what's like a beautiful message you
Well,
can action?
beautiful message, no pressure. It's funny because as you were describing it, like I try really hard just to trust my intuition or whatever comes up, and then as I start speaking, I'll figure out what it means because it's just the picture that I got in my head because that's kind of how it works these days. So my first thought was I had this moment last year where I had the house to myself. Everybody was doing something. Aspen was probably in school or with her friends, and Jacob and Katie were gone, and Chuck was gone, and I had the house to myself. And I just had this urge to cook something I'd never cooked before. And in doing so, I put on like Julia Child movie that can't Julia and Julia, I think
Yeah.
Julie and Julia, whatever that is. And so I put that movie on full blast, had a bottle of wine opened, and I don't even remember what the dish was I made because that's really not the point of the story. And I spent 2 hours over a dish that only I was going to eat, and did it just for me on a beautiful china, on a beautiful place setting, on a table just for me. And someone else has said this, and so I'm stealing this because I don't know who did that. They said, it turns out all these years, the whole setting the table perfectly and serving a delicious meal is really for me. Like, yes, I love doing that for other people, but at the end of the day, it's how much I love it. Like it makes me happy. And so even knowing that I am special enough to do it for me. So that was the memory I had. And the thing that I would say is you can't keep saying yes to everything because every yes means something else is getting a no. And so if there's one big message I had this year, it's I quit saying yes to things that I didn't want to do and places I didn't want to go and people I didn't want to spend time with. And I backed out of some obligations that I probably should have been at, like should have been, but I didn't want to. And I gave myself permission to really, and so I said no so that I could say yes to joy and happiness and doing things for me instead of feeling obligated. Like I'm pretty much done with, there's probably some obligations I would still say yes to, but I would be pretty darn selective if there are things I don't really feel like that would be valuable for me and that I would add value to.
Yes. I That is so powerful, and I I'm feeling that so much. I actually just wrote a post, my post for Monday, which is kind of all about that. Like, how can you choose to intentionally invest in yourself? Because I just feel like so many of us, especially women, we put everybody else in front of our needs too. So
All the
yes,
time.
what you're saying about, feeling obligated, but also like when are we going to start to feel obligated to ourselves? Like,
Yeah.
like as you're scheduling your day and you're writing out the 20 things that you have to do for everyone else or for your job or for
Yeah.
what your family, it's
Yep.
like, why are we not scheduling at least a few minutes here and there for something
Yeah.
that means something to us? And it's,
It's so true.
yeah.
And I watched the documentary. I read Miracle Morning. Did you read that book? Can't remember if we talked about this.
I have the one for entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I
Yeah.
read the book a couple years ago. It didn't really have a big impact on me, but then I watched the documentary on Prime Video this year. And I've been working on a Miracle Morning version for myself, but starting my day every day with 4 or 5 things that mean something to me. So far, I'm doing the meditation, I'm journaling again because I stopped journaling for a little while. If I can, I sit in my hot tub and I have coffee. I know, don't judge me. It's a thing. Like sometimes we hit a dry spot and we just don't feel like writing about it. Plan my day, like set my intent and do my affirmations. So like taking that time in the morning, getting up a little bit earlier and just being really intentional about that also is helping me discern what's the things I want to say yes to and what I want to say no to. And is there anything on my calendar that I have no idea why I said yes? And can I get out of it? Right. Like I have been, I'm like, I'm just don't want to, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you showed up today.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
Yes, no, that's so good. Okay, awesome. Um, I feel like I don't want to stop talking.
Aw,
But
you're
I know
so
you had a busy
sweet.
baby. I know that we have a couple people that have been listening for a while. So if you guys have any questions or any comments, please drop them in and we will try to answer them on here with the amazing coach Nancy. So let's see. One other thing before we give them time to maybe say something. What kind of, since you're going into this direction of like being maybe like a change coach, what are like are there some questions, like some 3 questions that you kind of spur like in the beginning of trying to decide if you're a good fit for someone, that helps you understand like where they're at, where they need to be, where to go?
Yeah, so it's funny because one of my first questions is always, what has you thinking about hiring a coach? And
Mm-hmm.
that will usually tell me how long they've been thinking about it. And something usually has happened. Like usually there's a catalyst that has me feeling so stuck or so frustrated or confused that I just am ready to get some help. And so that's usually one of them, is like, what's gotten you to this point that made you brave enough to make the phone call? Because it's amazing how some people are just afraid to find out what they already know, because they do already know. And then I almost always ask, like, 3 values that drive your life, because that'll just tell me whether we have alignment. So like, 3 things that really matter to you that at the end of the day. And then I'm always fascinated by people's belief system around, does life happen or do you choose your destiny? And there's not that there's a right or wrong answer on whether I'm going to say yes. It's more a matter of how self-aware are you. And
Yeah.
then, as always, I love assessments just for common language. So I still totally believe in the Gallup Strengths Finder. And then I've added the Enneagram to it because I think that's a good emotional intelligence balance to it. I'm guessing I'll be adding the Saboteur assessment because it tells us where our fears are of what keeps us stuck or feeling like it's protecting us from living the life we really want and not being as productive or as happy as what we want to be. So that's kind of the beginning of how I usually start things. Yeah,
Love it. I'll never
thanks.
forget when we did the Strengths Finder for the first time, and I read the book like that, and I came back. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And you were like, "How did you like it?" And I'm like, "I loved it so much." And you were like, "Yeah, because it was all about you."
Who doesn't love learning about us?
I
It's my
love
favorite topic.
it. I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." But
It's good.
I think there was more to that, but it was just funny. That was your
Oh, the discovering all the things that make sense. It's like, oh my gosh, I finally get why I'm wired the way I'm wired. You were
yes,
always that kind of a learner. It's like, oh, it all makes sense. There's nothing wrong with me. Like I'm supposed to be this way. And it's actually a good thing, even though people might have been giving me a hard time about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is it okay that I question everything 20 times and annoy everyone?
Yes.
All right. Well, I love that. I actually love those questions. I might replay this and put them in the post because I think those are really powerful, even just to do on your own and as you're
Yeah,
journaling. That those are great, like kind of journal prompts too, and to think about.
absolutely.
Yeah. But you're
Well, the
journaling.
other one that I think is really helpful is always, if let's say you decide you want to coach for 3 or 4 months, if at the end of 4 months you would say, this is the best decision I ever made to get coaching, what will have happened? And then they pretty much write out their like what they want to accomplish. That usually comes within that question. So it helps with really quick clarity of, well, I'd have a new job and I will be divorced and I'll be living in Europe. Like, okay, then now we know what we need to do.
Yep. And where's that dream journal? Because now you need pictures.
Yep. Exactly.
Put on there.
That's awesome.
That's kind of like, I've talked about this on all of the lives, but my favorite journal right now, it's actually a planner / journal. And it's holding up my phone, so I can't grab it, but it's called the Month Journal. And it's really cool because it's a planner, but it has the gratitude practices in it where
nice.
And it also has kind of like the productivity planner where you put your top 3, priorities, and then what you're grateful for. And then it says like ways that you can give today. But
nice.
It's like, but my favorite part of it is this section that says, I felt unrest today when, and I felt like kind of like in my power when,
wow.
So what are the greatest things that happened and what's something that made you uncomfortable, right? And like that really has helped me because I've never journaled like on a daily thing, something that made me uncomfortable. It was always something I learned or something I'm excited about or, and so that's kind of helped me put myself into this place of really understanding what's driving me in both ways, like the shadow, and the light, and what I've learned from the shadow is so much more, honestly. And that kind of something you said that spurred, what got you there won't get you here, or what got you here won't get you there. I'm sorry, I said it backwards. Yeah. Like that, like I feel like that's what I'm learning by journaling the dark, like things that made me uncomfortable. And why did it make me uncomfortable,
Well, and as you know, change never comes when we're comfortable.
Right.
Our discomfort is always a sign of the gap in the way we're living and what we're not being authentic about. Or it comes from this, we're touching on something I need to learn, or I need to grow, or I need to take a leap of faith, and I'm just resisting it for some reason. So it's always it's not good or bad, it's just a thing. But when we feel that, there's always a message there.
Yeah. So good. Deep.
Well, go journal that. I started using, Jen Lewis recommended the Brendan Bouchard journal. I'm liking that one too. I've tried the Panda and the Brendan one, but I think the truth is I needed a new journal. I just was tired of the way I was doing it. So changing up what kind of journal you use, I think is a good practice, just because it kind of gets you out of the routine and makes you uncomfortable, which is good.
Yeah, I have like 6 of them, and so and they're all different, and I'm almost this one, and I'm like, I want to buy another one, but nope, because I already have 5 other ones. And I'm going to try something different. But you should make, I know you're in the present and you're, slowing your roll, but when you're ready to roll up a little bit, you should make a journal to go with the other things that were in the works.
What?
The other project you had, I don't know if we're allowed to speak.
Yes. No, yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
My Oracle cards?
Yes. You're like Oracle cards. You should make a journal to go with it.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Tell us about your Oracle cards.
So I love Oracle cards. I probably have 20 decks because I had a really hard time with meditation. And to me, it bridges the gap between meditation and prayer and kind of gives you a direction of a way to, speak to the universe or to your creator. For me, that's God. But the Oracle cards really helped kind of just frame language for me and help me focus on one area of my life that I wanted to pay attention to. And I was inspired at the beginning of COVID to do one for leaders that, like, when we have trouble, like, oh my God, I have this difficult employee, or I know I need to show up different and there's something going on in the way I'm leading and I'm facing something, then you could go to this deck of cards and just intuitively pull a card and have a leadership lesson rather than it necessarily being a meditative thing or a prayer thing, and have it just be something that would help ask questions to help me think deeper about whatever I'm stuck on inside the leadership space. So we actually, I say we because my son's doing the drawings for it. And we're a long ways, but when I hit pause with my grandbaby, I kind of just paused and thought, I'm going to pick it back up as soon as it feels right. It's not going anywhere, but I did hit the pause button on it because, it's hard doing all the things. So
but I want those so bad.
Well, you'll be one of the first to try them out, make sure I haven't screwed anything up. So you got it. It's going to be
Yeah.
great.
Okay,
Thank
yes.
you for asking.
And not to add to your plate, but you gotta
A
have a
journal would be cool. Yeah. I love journals, so I love the idea of it. That would be awesome.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like you would be really good at that.
Aw, thank
And all the
you.
different prompts and the I can see it now. I will if pretend to have like $1 million to give you to create this project.
Great. Let's do it. Let's do it.
We can do a Kickstarter and I'll
Cool. I like the way you're thinking.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate you
Aw,
in so many ways and in coming on this IG Live with me. And I can't wait to, like I said, go back through and take out all the gems that you dropped and put them on the post and share with
well, thank
everyone.
you.
Oh, look, Jackie just joined. Hi, Jackie.
Thank
But
you
I,
so much. I appreciate the time, and having anyone that you care deeply about call you a goddess is a good day. So thank you for all the love. I appreciate it so much.
yes, thank you. And hopefully
Okay.
I can see you soon.
Sounds awesome. All
Yes.
right, Jamie. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.